Welcome everyone to Horror Movie Massacre, and I want to apologize right off the top about last night. Unfortunately, my son has been under the weather the last few days, and I just gave him a COVID test. So we'll see in a few minutes whether or not he's got the illness. But we're going to talk about Halloween 2 tonight. And it's been a mess. And I know that Sean had already commented last night. And sorry, Sean, if you're not here tonight. But my number one priority in life are my kids. Number one, no matter what. If you are here, please consider hitting the subscribe button here on YouTube. I really appreciate it. We're over 1,400 uh, subscribers, followers, whatever you want to call them now. And if you got a Gmail account, you can do that. But we are here tonight to discuss the immediate sequel to the 1978 John Carpenter film Halloween 2. So we're going to talk about, I mean, if you watch the show, you know what we do. We're going to talk about the things we like, the things we don't like, and give our slash scores, which it's another exciting edition of Horror Movie Massacre, and we're glad you're here. At least I am. Seth probably is too. Let's find out if Seth is. Seth, are you happy they're here?
Of course.
Okay, well, you're in. And that's what matters. If Seth is happy, then we're all happy. Halloween 2, man. This one, every time Nate talks about Halloween 4, I'm like, yeah, I think that's my favorite sequel. But then I start thinking about Halloween 2, and like, there's something about Halloween 2 that I just love. And I think it has to do with the fact that I'm not a huge Rick Rosenthal guy or anything like that because of what happened in 2002. But I think that he did a really decent job of trying his best at doing what Carpenter did in the '78 film, and that's I think part of the reason I like it. It's a direct extension of that film, which we all love. What are your thoughts overall before we get into the things we like and don't like and all that stuff?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I love this movie, and because I love this movie, I'm expecting to probably have a lot of glitching, and I'll probably get kicked out of the thing a couple of times because that always happens with a movie I love. Um, um, I mean, and as far as between 2 and 4, you can't really go wrong either way. I personally love part 2 as my second favorite of the Michael Myers films because I am a sucker for those type of sequels that pick up immediately where the last one left off. I love, like Pride of Frankenstein, Superman 2, um, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. I'm a sucker for those type of stories. So, yeah, and like you said, it definitely feels very much like Carpenter. I mean, they still had Dean Cundy as the cinematographer, so that helped. Carpenter was still involved with the writing and with the score. And from what I understand, he came in and directed a couple scenes too to kind of help out the film a little bit. But yeah, it feels like, I know that there was no intention for a sequel to the original when John and Deborah were making the original, but it feels like it's the second half of one big story.
Yeah, and that's probably why I like it so much. It does feel like the perfect extension. And I don't use perfect very often, but almost a perfect extension of the original movie. And because a lot of the
Yeah.
three of the main characters return. A lot of locations are very similar, and it feels like it's like the scene when he's walking down the street and bumps into his own son, actually, Dick Warlock. It feels
Yeah.
like that Haddonfield, and Haddonfield Memorial, which is a VA hospital, is great. There's a lot of things to like about this. I don't know why Nate's in such denial over this movie. Uh, Nate's on a play tonight, by the way. We wish him luck. I don't know if it's over or not, but yeah, man, I love this movie, and this was, I think, another reason. Like, he says that nostalgia plays a big role in the things that you love, and that may be. But this one was one I didn't get to see very often, like almost ever. It's just like one of the reasons I love the original Star Wars movie is because I never got to see it as much. So it was like always a pleasure, you know what I'm saying? And this one was kind of the same way. I never got to see this one. And when I did, it was always like, game on. It's time. Halloween 2's here, And I understand what Nate's saying, but I think for me, and it might be different for some people, for me, it's not nostalgia driven. I love this movie. I love the characters, even though they're not like, they're almost faceless, but there's some inventive things. And I think Dick Warlock does a decent job of playing the shape. Um, that's just my opinion. You know, that's my opinion. I love Halloween too.
Yeah, well, it's not nostalgia for me either. I mean, to this day, Halloween 2, if I'm to watch any of the sequels, if I'm to watch any Halloween film that's not John Carpenter's or even, you know, uh, Season of the Witch, which, it's a whole separate thing. When it comes to the Myers films with sequels, I go for part 2 more than any of the other ones. And again, it's not to take anything away from, especially part 4, because I absolutely love part 4 as well.
Me too.
I don't get that nostalgia argument, but another thing is like I like the setting. It's like we talked about this when we talked about part 4, how like the first film is just this very kind of small scale, mostly within a house or two. And then the second one just kind of opens it up a little bit more. It's a hospital, so it's a bigger setting. It's a different setting. There's more characters, and then of course, then with part 4, then you get to where it's more town wide. I
Right.
kind of like that escalation there with the
Yeah.
settings.
Yeah.
But I really, yeah, but I really love the hospital setting, and like, I think it was like maybe sometime earlier in the year or sometime late last year, I had to bring one of my daughters to the hospital, and it was at night, and of course, all I could think about was Halloween 2. It's like every time I'm there,
Yes.
especially at night, I think about
Yes.
Halloween 2. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, I feel like any Halloween fan, Halloween 2 fan especially, if you're at the hospital, like when my son was being born, it might have been right after he was born. It was like 2:30 in the morning, and my wife Elizabeth had a hankering for some chips or something like that. She's like, "Can you go find some?" And I'm like, wandering around this hospital at 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't see a single person. The lights are dim. I'm like, when's Michael Myers going to pop out of the? Yeah, he's around every corner. I know he is. And it's right. Am I wrong? It's how it feels.
yeah, yeah. It's like you walk down the hallway and you can hear the Halloween, like some of the Halloween theme in your head.
Right.
That slower music, that stalking music there.
And don't lie to me when I ask you this, but when you're walking, do you kind of feel like you walk in the Halloween Michael Myers cadence in a way, like walking down the hall like you're him? Because I did. After I stopped thinking about how creepy it is, I was like, I'm gonna be Michael Myers for a minute, and just like when you go up to like a grocery store door and they open up and you're Darth Vader all of a sudden.
Well, no, I walk around like I'm Bud.
Of course you are. Amazing Grace.
Grace.
There you go. I love Nightmare 4 and 5. Yeah, see, and that's cool. That's not. I honestly think there's nothing wrong with having a nostalgia thing, because like honestly, Nightmare 4, just like what Steven said, I grew up with that too, and that's like one of my favorites. So, sue me. But no, I see what Nate's saying, because sometimes people can be blinded by nostalgia, but for me, not this one at all. So, and remember, if you're out there watching this, hit the subscribe button, please, on YouTube. We'd love to have you here. We love having you here talking to us too. If you have a favorite scene, a memory, anything, we'll put it up on the screen like I just did by this blasphemer saying he likes us better than the original. Just joking. You can. That's your opinion. I'm cool with whatever anybody says. But we'll talk. We're going to discuss this movie. We're going to talk about it because this is probably my number two movie, and based on our scores, it is my number two movie. So, and Seth, I got a surprise for you. I got a surprise for you, but we'll wait till the end. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's not really
All
a
right.
surprise, but you know, it's. I think you'll be excited. Maybe I don't know. The hot, yeah, some of the best breasts in the entire series. I'm just saying. Um. Anyway, yeah. So let's get into this. What works for you in this movie? I mean, we already kind of touched on it, the setting, the like, but let's talk about characters because we have Loomis returning, of course. We've got like it's butt up to the end of the 1978 film. The one thing I don't like about it is there's that big ass stain in the grass. That's weird looking. It looks like it's a behemoth person. But other than that,
Yeah.
I love the opening. That opening. Yeah, let's talk about the behemoth
Yeah.
print before we get to the other thing.
Well, it's weird because you know the opening is primarily footage from the original. The score was changed for the scenes, where
Mhm.
it's that more synth score from Carpenter and
It feels
Howard.
darker
But
too.
it's just weird. Yeah, and it's just weird that they changed that final scene a little bit. You know, like in the original, Loomis is up on the balcony of the Doyle house, and he looks down and he notices that Myers is gone. And then
Yeah.
this one, he comes downstairs and notices that he's gone. It's just weird. Um, yeah,
I always took that.
I
I
don't get
always
that.
took that as he saw him like okay he's not where he fell. He comes outside to make sure he's nowhere around and looks at that position again. But it also sets up that great line where the neighbor, I've been trick or treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is, and it busts right into the score. Which I got to say, I fucking love the score of this movie. I think it's maybe number two, maybe number three because
Oh, me too.
the 2018 film is really good as well. But I love the score. I used to hate it when I was younger because it was like synthy, like you said. It sounded like it was almost like the disco theme in a way from Friday the 13th Part Three, but not disco. But I love it now. Like growing up, this is the one I go to. Honestly, there nothing will top the first, of course, but this is a great score
Right.
all the way through. It feels darker, and at times it feels very menacing. You know, even in scenes where you're just looking down a hallway or something like that. But that line though, I've been trick or treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is. That sets up the whole fucking movie. That's such a great
Yeah,
iconic line. You know, wouldn't you
yeah,
agree?
and it's accentuated by the score. You know, just the way
Mm.
the score starts off. It's very cool. It's a cool opening, really.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it when you like that's one of the things I like about it. And I wish they would have done this with Halloween 4 and 5. Is it's the same goddamn night, and it butts up right, but like next to each other. This is I have it's a bootleg cut. I'm not gonna lie. Least favorite werewolf movie. He just watched it, I think.
Um, Ooh, I have to consult my list on that one. I've seen a
All
lot
right,
of
we'll come
shitty
back to.
ones,
He's
especially
got his
recently.
top 100 coming out probably towards the beginning of next year. There is a top 75 on there now, but he's like inching closer to 100.
And I want it to be my 100th article, so I got some more to
Oh
write
shit,
before I
you've
get to
got
that one.
12 more to do before that.
Yeah.
100 werewolf. 100. I like that. You know, I'm edging in close to my 700th article. Just saying.
It's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, but
Good
some of them
job,
are
Stephen King.
bullshit. Yeah, I can't write an ending though, but some of them are bullshit, like press releases and stuff like that. So, and I've been doing it since 2016. But anyway, back to Halloween 2. I just love that opening gets you in the mood for Halloween, and the credits echo the first movie very much. But when the pumpkin, the jack o' lantern splits open and reveals the skull, it's so goddamn cool. In this movie,
Yeah.
just I don't know why anybody doesn't like it as much. Like that's kind of gives you the idea of what it looks like. Like I really I gotta know what Nate's beef is with this one because I mean, Halloween 4 is great, and of course, you and I both love Halloween 3. But like even our followers actually, they gave this is the overall score when we did our 5-star ratings. 90% kids. That's a high fucking score, especially for a sequel, and it's especially for a
It's awesome.
sequel that is not Friday
Yeah.
the 13th Part 4 or Jason Lives, because those two are better than the original. Where that's rare, completely rare. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so let's get into some of the things that we really do like. I mean, you mentioned Bud, and I mean they're all pretty much cannon fodder, the hospital staff, but you kind of like most of them, especially that interaction with Bud, and I
Mhm.
never remember her name. Such and such saw him yesterday. She's a goddamn liar. Do you always have to cuss about everything
Yeah.
or whatever every goddamn day, or what is it? What does he say?
Sorry, I fuck up all the time.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, I love it. I just absolutely love it. Okay, no COVID based on this test. So yeah, it's and the thing is, Jimmy. I want to know how old Jimmy is because he's very lovelorn over Lorie, and it's like I know his little brother knows him or knows her, and she apparently is well. It seems like if whenever she's brought in, they're like, "Hey, that's Laurie Strode." Everybody knows who she is, and it's like Strode Realty.
Everybody
Okay,
knows, yeah.
so yeah, and then they're like, is like he a bigwig in the town? Her dad, uh, I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of odd. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about? Actually, let me backtrack a little bit because there's a scene that I absolutely love. It's definitely one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, to be honest, and it's the Elrod scene. Uh, Jared, I think it's Jared that recommended that. But the Elrod scene, why did he not kill them?
That's a very good question.
That's a good point, Sean.
I mean, it made for a cool scene. I mean, I'm more concerned about why did he feel the need to be rude enough to get blood on the sandwich.
Ruin that whole fucking sandwich.
I don't think that. Well, exactly. That was not appropriate on Michael's part, and
He could have at least put some mayonnaise
yeah,
on there.
and I mean, ever since he left the blood on the sandwich, I've just been rooting against Michael for the
Yeah.
entire series.
That's when he became a villain for real.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always wondered that, like, why, like, he goes on, like, there are people he doesn't kill for sure in the first movie, but like he's in their house, like, why doesn't he off them? I guess because they're not in his way, maybe. And he got what he needed out of there, and then he goes and kills some random girl who across the street or next
Yeah.
door or whatever, which is like, what? Like, that's my biggest complaint. But I love the Elrod scene overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a cool scene. Like, I liked, how you had Mr. Elrod in the foreground, and then Mrs. Elrod, and then in the background behind her, you had Michael in the doorway. I thought that was a really cool shot. But yeah, I don't know why he didn't kill them, and I've actually never really, it's never really bothered me.
It's
I don't know. There was just something about it where, like, I've
Yeah.
always accepted it. I'm just like, yeah,
yes.
cool.
Just go get one out of my room. The one out of it's fine. Sorry. Yeah, it doesn't really bother me that much. Like, he kind of got a news update while he was there too, didn't he? And then they got back to dementia, which was another thing about the movie I like, because they had all the the horror-thon going on the TV from 1978, and they were playing Night of the Living Dead in this one rather than The Thing from Another World. So I thought that was really cool. But and then he wastes that girl who's actually talking to Annie on the phone. I don't know if anybody knows that, but that's what's her name? Nancy Loomis.
Nancy Loomis.
Yeah, it's her voice on the other end of that phone, which is kind of fun. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's her. Yeah, so she's
That's
talking
actually
to a
kind
dead.
of cool because I was just gonna say that'd be cool because that would mean she was involved in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that's right, because she's Dr. Chalice's estranged wife or ex-wife, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and of course, and she was in The Fog, which is a wonderful film. Uh,
It
God,
is.
God, every time I think, if I mention a Carpenter movie that's not Halloween, like I say, The Fog, I'm like, God, that might be my favorite. But then I'm like, wait, I like Prince of Dark. Like I have this problem in my brain with Carpenter movies. But then I'm like, oh, but I love Prince of Darkness. But I love In the Mouth of Madness. But The Thing, Halloween. What am I gonna
Yeah.
do? I'm gonna cop out like
Yeah.
Seth. There are 5 movies tied for first. Anyway, uh, I got I mean, can you blame me? But yeah, so yeah,
No,
I
not
like
really.
that. I like that Michael kind of has to work his way back through Haddonfield also to get to the hospital. And there's something about that's one of the things I liked about Halloween Kills. Going back to that for a second, is they expand the town a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. And I don't know why I like that, but I've always wondered what kind of town is Haddonfield, because in the original film you only see 4 locations, maybe, and that's fine or whatever. But I like seeing more of the town. Halloween 4 did that really well. They showed a lot of the town, and I kind of like seeing his trip and how he found Lorie. I'm really happy that they didn't just place him in the hospital, like he just found her in H2O. Like I'm glad that he bumped into his son, Dick Warlock's son, of course, and the patient Laurie Strode's being taken to Haddonfield Memorial, which I don't think they do that shit on the radio, by the way. If they did in the 80s, they don't do it now, for sure. Because the fog's fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, it
Unbelievable.
was just the matter. It was just like a little little device to kind of explain how Michael knew where to go or something. I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess we'll get into
but
that
I'm glad they
more.
put that in there because, and I think Carpenter shot that, didn't he?
I think so, if I remember correctly.
I know Carpenter was brought in to do some things like I think he enhanced the kills a little bit, and I think he shot a couple. I think
Yep.
that's one of the scenes he shot. But yeah, I really like that scene. Well, I love the beginning of this movie. That's like everybody going to the Myers house. That's another thing I wanted to talk about with you is the town coming together at the Myers house and just wreaking havoc on the house itself. Like it was interesting to me. It's like, why are they going to the house? Where Halloween Kills, they look for him. Why do you think they went to the house of all places? Because did they think he was going to go back there, or what do you think?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Um, I don't know. You would think that more people will be kind of out looking for him. Um, yeah, it's a good question. I
And
mean,
obviously, they have
Loomis,
a description of him
I'll
because
say, yeah. I was just gonna say, like Loomis knew to go to the Myers house in the original,
sure,
um, but yeah, I just can't imagine the townspeople would. I mean, maybe they just went there by association of the house with the killer. I don't know.
yeah, I get. I mean, the best one of the best parts about this is Loomis is kind of like a walking encyclopedia because he the wake or whatever he called it. He kind of explains why they're there. One of their flock has been killed, and yeah, I guess I get that. But I mean, with Loomis has a description, and we see kind of what happens with Ben Tramer. Which, by the way, that scene scared the living shit out of me the first time I saw it. Like that, because that car came out of nowhere. And so let me set this up for you. I was 6 years old, and I had already seen the original Halloween, and I this one was on TV as we're walking out the door to go trick or treating. And I'm sitting there watching and getting ready, dressed like, as a clown, by the way, dressed as a clown. And my mom was working that night. The babysitter was taking us trick or treating. It's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, wait. I think they found Michael Myers. Something like that. I know that's what I said, something along those lines. And then all of a sudden, bam, he gets hit. I'm like, I don't want to go trick or treating anymore. I'll never forget. I did not want to go trick or treating that night. And my babysister's like, we won't cross the street. I was like, you kidding me? How are we not going to cross the street? You know, like I was freaked out at 6 years old for that because of that scene because I did not want to get hit by a fucking car and then like not even just hit by the car, pushed into another car and the car fucking explodes. It's like that's fucking terrifying, you know?
Yeah. Can you imagine Lorie the next day being like, "Oh, well, yeah, you lost your two best friends. Oh, and by the way, that the guy that you liked was mistaken for Michael and crushed by a car." And
Oh, by the way, Michael Myers is also your brother. You know.
Yep, that as well.
So like, yep. So that how fucking much does that?
You were really adopted.
Yeah, you were adopted. Michael Myers is your brother. That's why he's going to kill you. And you're the guy that you have this huge crush on was dressed as your brother, and got killed and crushed by a cop car because he was drunk. You know, it's like, but she had Jimmy to fall back on, who I would assume. I've always assumed. I don't know where you are in this. That's Jamie's father. I always assume because he survived, right? It's such a tight window.
That was always my assumption too.
Yeah.
It was always my assumption too that that Jamie was the product of Lorie and one of her stalkers. Yeah.
Can't get away from the stalkers, I guess. Annie wasn't very nice to Lorie. No, she really wasn't. I want to go back to this one.
Michael did.
Go ahead.
Michael did Lorie a favor.
Yeah, probably. So I just want to comment. The Changeling is one of the best ghost story haunted house movies, period, ever made. George C. Scott came out in 1980. If you haven't seen it, check it out. He's dropping some hits on us tonight. The Fog, Sleepy Hollow, Ghost Story's good too. It's not as good as the Changeling, but anyway, yeah. I mean, Lorie's how fucked up. Lorie seems like she has such a decent life. You know, her dad's a big wig in town. She's, you know, got a couple of friends that are, you know, one's an idiot, one's a bitch, but you know, she's got a pretty decent life. She's a babysitter making some of that greenback. She's going to be a senior, or she is a senior, and then one night it all comes crashing down. That sucks. Find out you're adopted. Your older sister was killed when you were a baby. You know, all this shit happened to her in one fucking night. You know. Poor Lorie. Maybe I never thought about it that much. Anyway, so let's talk about. So Brackett leaves early, and we get the new guy, who I very much like, and for some reason I'm blanking on his name. The deputy. Yeah, I really like him. I thought he was a good addition because he's different than Brackett. And he seems exhausted and kind of annoyed with Loomis, but at the same time, he wants to help him, you know. And I don't know. I really like him. I don't think anybody ever talks about him, and that's probably why I didn't really remember his name. But what are your thoughts on him, Hunt?
Well, I liked him. I mean, I think he kind of felt a little bit more open to Loomis than Brackett did. I mean, if you look at Brackett in the first movie, he's very cynical of Loomis. So, yeah, I liked Deputy Hunt, and I do kind of wish that that there was more to his character than just this film. Like, I think he would have been kind of cool to see in part 4. You know,
well,
still worked for Haddonfield.
I mean, by that point, he could have been what Meeker was at that point. You know, been there that long, but maybe he went down to Florida with Brackett. Gonna have to go such and such miles south.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want him to replace Meeker.
No, Meeker's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to replace Meeker though, because I love Meeker. But I liked Hunt. I do kind of wish we saw a little bit more of him.
Yeah, but he was good in this movie, and he was kind of Loomis's chauffeur. There's a lot more we get to see in this movie too. There's a lot more going on with the hospital staff. We get to see, the coroner or whatever is a dentist, I guess, go over Ben Tramer's dental records, and of course, Sam Hain, which is how could Donald Pleasance not be like, hey, that's not how you say that. He should know, right? I feel like he should know. And for forever, I thought it was Sam. Fucking Supernatural called a character Sam Hain. You remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Come on, guys.
They got it wrong too. Yep.
Yeah, that was a cool episode, though. Just saying. We got.
It was.
I love y'all. I love horror movies. Yes, me too. I love horror movies, and I guess you. This movie is an abomination. That's what your Lord and Savior, John Carpenter, thinks of this movie. It's true. Seth's Lord and Savior does not like this movie that he wrote while he was drunk and probably coked up. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's understandable. It's understandable. I mean, he didn't really want to do this movie to begin with. Just from the history of the behind the scenes of it. I mean, really, he had no intention of doing a sequel to Halloween, and of course, the success of the original movie was not overnight. But he got himself in a little situation. He made a verbal deal with Irwin Yablans for The Fog, and after Halloween turned out to be a big success, he made a deal with Africa Embassy for The Fog. And so Irwin was like, well, you could do Halloween 2 or we'll sue you. And so he reluctantly took the job to write, produce, and all that for Halloween 2. And he wasn't proud of every decision he made. And I don't really blame him. I mean, I love this movie way more than John Carpenter loves this movie, of course, but
yeah,
I don't blame him for being critical of it. I mean, and he'll say the same thing about some of his other films too. I mean, he's a really honest guy. If he doesn't like something he's done, he'll be critical and harsh on it.
Has he been critical and harsh on any of his other movies that you know of?
Well, I mean, he's been honest about certain stuff, like listening to his audio commentaries for most of his movies. There's a lot of stuff in Prince of Darkness, where he just kind of admits that he didn't know certain things, or there's been times where, I mean, he's been critical of himself, but
yeah, I mean, it's hard to be critical when he makes actually really good movies, and I can see, I mean, every critic is critical about things. I mean, we'll talk about things we don't like about this movie. There's not much about this I don't like. Dana Carvey's in this movie too, by the way. The comedian from
yeah, but I mean, again, I mean, he didn't want to do a sequel. It was a kind of it was kind of put into the corner to do it, and he's not a sequel guy either. I mean, he's only made one sequel to one of his films. Other than that, all of his films are individual films, and they're all different from each other. I don't think he likes to really repeat himself too much. So
no, and there are sequels to his films, like there's a sequel to Vampires, and of course there are 12 Halloween sequels, and remakes, like the Fog remake, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, he may not have wanted to do this movie. I've never really heard Deborah Hill's side. I think this is the first time we've mentioned her in this whole thing. But I mean, to be fair, I don't think she had much to do with the other movies, but this one she did. But I've never heard her side about how she felt about doing a sequel to Halloween. Do you know anything about that? Because I honestly don't. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore, so no interviews to find. Ask
I don't.
her.
I mean,
thanks, Richard.
Everything I know about it is from Carpenter's perspective.
Right.
I got a couple different books about
It's more
Carpenter
racy.
where he does interviews. Yeah, I think she
Yeah.
was just because at the time she was Carpenter's creative partner. She was with him for. Um, I think she was like a script supervisor on Assault from Precinct 13, and then she
Mhm.
was co-writer producer and with Halloween, and I think she was involved. I don't know if she was involved with Someone's Watching Me and Elvis, but like she was very much tied to Carpenter.
Yeah, I mean,
She
she's
was
in
involved
her
with The
the
Fog
fog.
and
Yeah.
Escape from New York, so you know it was kind of like a package deal with them, and not to mention both of them were working on Halloween 4 before they had a falling out with Mustafa Akkad. So um, I don't know if she was as against it as Carpenter, or maybe she was a little bit more accepting. I don't know.
I'm
It's a good
looking here,
question.
and yeah, she was the script supervisor on Assault on Precinct 13. But yeah, she was with him for a lot of his stuff. I mean, the funny thing about Deborah Hill is, and Seth's gone. The funny thing about Deborah Hill
I'm
is
right here.
like she she's one of the few writer producer type of people that people give a lot of credit to, because you don't see people saying, "Oh, Robert Shea," or whatever from Elm Street, or Frank Mancuso Jr., or you know what I'm saying. They never talk about those people. Meanwhile, you see people with shirts that say produced or whatever by Deborah Hill. I know Nate's got that shirt, which is really cool. That's a testament of what she did for Halloween and what kind of a writer she was, producer too. I keep hearing something.
Yeah, well, she was a pretty powerful figure in Hollywood as far as being a producer. But I do think Frank Mancuso Jr. and Robert Shea should be talked about more often than they are.
Well, one of the things I will say is both of them were prominently interviewed in those documentaries, which is great because Frank Mancuso, he was there for most of the first 4 or 5 movies, and Robert Shea was there for the long haul with Elm Street. So the Fog remake is
Well,
awful, Sean. I know that we talk about you need to check this out, check that out. Don't bother watching the Fog remake; it's just terrible. Unless you have a fetish for Tom Welling.
Sean, you should definitely check it out.
Here you go.
It will not waste your time.
Yeah, it is not a waste of 90 minutes. But yeah,
No, definitely not.
I'm glad we were able to bring up Deborah Hill because she's never brought up. We haven't brought her up yet. She's brought up a lot. People love Deborah Hill. I bet you if I could put a picture of Deborah Hill up on Facebook right now for her followers, it'd get a lot of response. She died on the same day as my wife, just years apart. Oddly enough, March 7th, 11 years apart. Anyway, died way too young, man. She was super young. So I was just looking. Let's see. She died 2005. She was only 54 years old, man. That's some
Yeah.
young ass shit. But
It was what was it? Was it breast cancer or something?
Died of cancer. It just says cancer.
Yeah.
I'd assumed it was from smoking. She smoked like a fucking chimney, apparently. I mean, look what happened to the mask in just a couple of years. That it was under her bed, apparently. The original Halloween mask, because it's the same mask. And I don't know, not everybody knows that. This is the exact same mask as Nick Castle wore. It just got stretched out because old Nick Castle has a big nose, and then you got Dick Warlock has a wide ass head. So like, it's the same mask. And also it got Deborah Hill was a big time smoker, so that's probably why it was more dingy looking. Let's talk about some things that maybe you don't like. What are some of the issues that of this one for you?
Um, there are times where some of Loomis's dialogue is maybe a little too much. Um, I also think the whole thing with the school, the elementary school, was just unnecessary. Like, when did Michael have time to break into school, and why was it so
Yeah,
just?
because he made a fucking beeline to the hospital.
Yeah, so he broke into the school and he critiqued some little girl's art by stabbing the picture of the family and writing Samhain on the chalkboard. It just seems out of character, and it just felt like it doesn't really fit with the sort of timeline of events. Um, and I'll probably get shit for this, but I don't really think the whole sibling thing was really necessary because it didn't change really anything of the story. It just got I don't know. It just got it was I think John was overthinking it when he wrote the script, and he needed a I guess a way to explain away why Michael was still chasing after this one girl. Which I mean, you could just write off as he was a completionist. He had unfinished
like
business.
you.
Um, yeah, yeah. Um, it didn't really add anything to this particular story.
Well,
I don't
it
think.
it, it was probably John Carpenter's worst nightmare because it didn't add anything to the story, but it added a bunch of movies on the end of this movie. So
It completely changed the whole dynamic going forward. Absolutely. I mean, I my mom had all the VHS tapes for the Halloweens, and she watched them a lot. She was a huge fan, and
yeah,
even before I actually sat down and watched every single one of them from beginning to end, I knew that Laurie Strode was Michael Myers' sister, and that Jamie Lloyd was
it's
Michael's
almost as well
niece.
known as where Superman is from. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Hey, I'm gonna put my daughter
so
to bed. Can you take over for a few minutes?
sure,
Okay, I'll be back in a couple
sure,
of minutes.
okay. Um, yeah, so it's not like I hate the whole sibling angle, but it's one that I just I think it kind of takes away from it a little bit. Um, I One of the things I love about the original, and I think one of the things that does make it scary. Like, I don't understand some people who think that it's better for Michael to have a motive, whereas because I think it's just better with Michael not having a motive. Where Laurie Strode is, uh, she's a person who's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she just becomes the object of Michael's affection in a way. Um, I mean, there's a lot of like true crime type stuff that happens with, just people being, randomly walking out of a store, and someone's in the parking lot, and opportunity strikes. And I just feel like that's a little bit, um, it's a little bit scarier, I think. And then you have the whole thing with, well, how does Michael know that she's his sister, right? She was, um, obviously, when they made the original, there was no younger sister, of course. Um, but with this new twist with Halloween 2, you're now introducing it as the fact that Laurie was 2 years old. So I don't know how he could instantly know that Laurie is his sister. If the last time he saw her, she was two. Um, well, actually, there is that bullshit scene where Laurie is dreaming, and apparently she went and visited Michael, but I guess she suppressed that memory. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm not trying to shit on it. I do, like I said, I grew up with that fact, and it was always a part of the series. I've always accepted it, the whole uh, relation thing, and it made it stand out differently than, say, Friday the 13th, which is really just a bunch of random people getting killed for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But so the whole sibling thing did kind of help establish Halloween as its own identity with that aspect of it. But I kind of prefer it without it. And I think in the case of this movie alone, it wasn't executed very well because there was really no payoff to it as far as Lorie being made aware of this fact. It was really just a story device to get certain characters from point A to point B, to get Michael to the hospital, to explain why he's still chasing after Lorie, to get Dr. Loomis back to the hospital. But I think you could just, I don't know, I just feel like you could take it as Michael is a completionist. I don't know. It's not a make or break deal for me because, again, I still love Halloween 2. I love Halloween 4. I love Halloween 6. I know it's not a great movie, but yes, I love Halloween 6. I prefer the Loomis stuff. I'm a Loomis guy. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorite characters in horror. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. I'll try to get to some comments here. I can't wait to binge watch the Halloween series next week. Those Child Factory releases are fantastic. Awesome. We've been doing these shows individually per week, going backwards, starting with ends. And I haven't always revisited some of them like right before the show, but because I know them so well, I don't really have to. But I'm definitely going to be. I did watch some of them, but as we get closer and closer to Halloween, you can bet your ass I'll probably be doing a marathon as well.
Did you get all these comments?
No, I just got the one about the binge watch, and that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I probably won't be doing that, but how is it that Michael remembers Lorie? He is always looking forward to this night, looking past the wall.
Yeah, I kind
of.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned that in a few minutes ago.
Yeah, he heard about Jamie. How is it going, guys? Yeah, I don't think it loses steam. I think it gets better. The hospital setting is good. Doesn't work because you never get a definitive impression of how many people are there. Yeah, I know that is a problem, but I mean, I always wonder what time it is because the scene when the kid comes in with the after getting the razor blade in the tongue, which was a nice touch, as a old wives' tale. I love that one. But I always wonder what time it is at this point. She's like, "Cause we'll go home, we'll bob for apples, we'll play some games." Like, what time is it? Like, is that kid? Is there no school tomorrow? Is this a Friday? What like what time is it? Like, I understand that on October 31st it gets darker a little bit earlier, but man, it's got to be at least 10, 11 o'clock by the time he gets out of that hospital. I don't know. I feel like they're in a different wing of the hospital anyway. They may have kept her protected in a more like. Because I guess she was down near the maternity ward, right? She had to have been. So it probably wasn't very busy. All in 6, yeah. Seth, we are coming for. Oh, come on. I do think the TV cut has many scenes that actually would have helped the theatrical, especially the moment when Jimmy's in the ambulance. I was going to bring that one up towards the end of the. Yeah, that. I'm glad that they didn't keep that in the theatrical cut because I love how you got the look of her face and everything, and Mr. Sandman playing. Jimmy kind of ruins that part a little bit. Uh, what other scenes is the scene? What other scenes are added in? Because I only watched that cut maybe a handful of times, and it's been a while since the last time I watched it. Now the original or the TV cut of 1978 film, I've seen that. I know that one because there's the scene in Lorie's house with Linda, which is the Elm Street house. If nobody knew that, they're actually in the Elm Street house. And then upstairs, Annie's upstairs. That bedroom is Nancy's bedroom. Did anybody know that? Did you know that, Seth?
Yeah, I knew that.
And then, and then of course the scene where Loomis is in front of the board or whatever. That's also added in, but I can't remember what else added into the part 2 TV because I haven't seen that one as much. Michael cutting the power is in the TV.
I haven't either.
Huh?
So I haven't either.
Yeah, I have it. It's with my Ultimate Scream Factory Edition Blu-ray set that is the best one ever. Although I kind of wouldn't mind getting the 4K set, but I think the art is very ugly on those. I only have the original John Carpenter film.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
the newer ones.
Mm-hmm. I don't care for those. I would like them to make a documentary, just like Crystal Lake Memories, and Never Sleep Again. Okay, was there anything else that you had to complain about Halloween 2? Because I really don't have much. There's very few things about this one that I would complain about. I like most of it.
No, to be honest with you, I don't really have even the things that I mentioned were all just kind of like minor nitpicks for me. Again, I love the suit. It's my favorite of the minor sequels. So anything that I have, I mean, really, the biggest issue I have is the fact that Michael got blood on the sandwich.
Yeah, I know. What a dick. Okay, so before we get to our slash scores, let's talk about the very end of the movie. When Loomis lights the match, they blow up, they die. Should that have been the end of Halloween? I mean, we're big fans of the rest of the series, and we were talking about Halloween Ends the other day a little bit on our chat, and I was all in a tizzy because I think I don't like that movie almost at all, and it's like. Like I say, I love the Halloween franchise as a whole, and I love a lot of the movies. But like looking at some of the I don't think about half of the movies I don't like almost at all. And I know it's different for you because you like the Rob Zombie movies. I don't like either one of them at all. I don't like H2O. I don't like Resurrection, and I really don't like Ends almost at all. It's like that's like half the series, And so it's like, is it really that beloved? Because when I think about it. I love 6. I love 4. I like 5 better than most people do. I love 4. I love 2. I love 3. And of course, I love the original one. But like anything beyond 6, I almost don't care for at all. 2018 is okay for me, and Kills is I've warmed up on it, but like it's not like the Friday the 13th series where I feel like 1 through 8 I like all of them for the most part. I don't really like 3 all that much, but I like them. And same thing with Elm Street, the mainline series of the Elm Street movies. I like them all, And with Halloween, there really isn't even a mainline series because there's so much shit going on. The different timelines and this and that, and it's a mess. The series is a mess, really. But I don't know. I don't know what my point is there. What's frustrating? Here's some more comments. What's frustrating is Brackett now is the only active character in a direct conflict with Michael over Annie, but he just vanishes, removing a potentially interesting dynamic. Well, he moved to Florida. I find it hilarious how the collar on Loomis's jacket was so big between movies. Yeah. The music is significant improvement. Okay. I love everything showing them hunting Michael down in the street. Yeah, I agree. The final confrontation, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a second. Why don't I like the one with Jim? I don't know. That's a personal thing. The script for Halloween 4 opens with the hospital explosion, Loomis screaming at the firefighters, let him burn, when they put out Michael, which was likely an influence the writer. Is that true? Were they supposed to going to start it that way?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe the original script. Well, not the original script for Halloween, but the Halloween 4 that we got, the original script for that particular story. Yeah, it was supposed to open like that. And I do imagine that they took that for influence for kills. Um,
So, okay, go ahead.
uh, uh, there was a comment I was gonna. Oh, about bracket.
Jamie is Michael's niece, Lori's
Like,
daughter. Go ahead.
yeah. So the thing with bracket, like, I understand what Travis is saying about it being frustrating because, well, exactly because bracket is now the only active character in direct conflict because of Annie. And then he does vanish. But I think it's also kind of realistic in a way too, where Brackett just learned that his daughter died. He has to go home and tell his wife. He's got to kind of be there and console his wife. And
Mm-hmm.
as that's happened, all this other stuff has happened, and so maybe it's unfortunate that Brackett sort of missed out on a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I could just imagine that he was busy from the perspective of someone who is grieving, um, and someone who was trying to help someone else grieve. And you could think that the instant fatherly rage that he would get back on the street only to learn it's all over now. And
Yeah,
that's
and
something I wish they kind of explored with Kills. Like, yeah, I don't know, if Kills had incorporated Halloween 2, I think that would have been kind of a cool thing to incorporate the fact that Brackett wanted revenge, and by the time he got back out there, it was already over.
hold on one second. Helena just messaged me from her bed. Yeah, and that would have been kind of fun, but yeah, like you say, I don't think the events of Halloween 2 take place over multiple hours. It doesn't seem like it's that long of a time. So yeah, by the time he got back out there, and yeah, I mean he would have to console it because it was dropping on TV like immediately, right when they were there. But I do love whenever he kind of confronts Loomis. You let him out, and Loomis is like, no, I didn't. He just kept. I like that scene. I like that we got what we got from him, but Loomis does get handed off. So that final scene. Oh, there's another freaking. Yes, the shooting draft. Oh my God.
Yep.
I'm glad Meeker didn't die, even though he didn't have much to do in the fifth movie. Uh, yeah. Oh God. Oh, Halloween Retribution.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cause he like work. They work together after Buster Rhymes gets killed. Am I right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. I don't care.
I
I'd watch that
actually
movie.
like that script.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie. Like,
I
well,
actually
some of
like
this,
that script.
I wish they would have left Freddie behind, and I have questions about why they didn't go after Sarah. I think was her name. Why Michael decided to go
Mhm.
after Freddie, but I guess maybe because they made Freddie seem like he was all about the cameras and all that. So he was more prevalent than Sarah, and she didn't matter anyway. They were just. Do you think Michael has mental telepathy to know that Lorie and Jamie are family? No, they talk about it at the very beginning of Halloween 4. That Jamie is Michael's legal guardian by the state or something like that.
Yeah, but
Sounds
he
like
would have to know, like, in order to find her, though, he would have to know the exact details. Like, how would he know to go to the Carruthers house? there is holes there,
Well,
and
there
you would
and
have to assume that because that there is some sort of supernatural
well,
drive
yeah, because when she touches his hand,
going.
it's almost like he passes that on to her. And there in part five, they do kind of explore that because when he puts his mask on, she's mimicking what he does. So maybe there is some kind of telepathy or something like that. That's a good question. I would really thought too deeply on that. Uh, yeah, that they need to do that more often. Yeah, it's with Halloween being up in the air. It's like you remember? Were you? I don't know if you were on the show when we had Vince on. Man, I think it was the first time. And what Vince wanted to do with the Friday the 13th movies was make sequels to the sequels, but make it like a Netflix series or something like that. At the time, Netflix was like the only streamer, but like it would be like a sequel to part three, and then there would be a sequel to part four, and then there would be a sequel to part five. You know, just kind of like that, and that'd be kind of fun to unearth some of these sequels that were never made, like maybe the original Part Seven or the original Retribution or Halloween Three, the Rob Zombie Halloween Three. You know, unearth some of these that were never made and make them. Just to see what there were. Halloween Returns is another one that was never made. The one that
I
was
honestly
not.
would have. That would have been a good one, but I mean, I really would have loved to see the original Halloween 4 script, the one from Dennis Etchison, that
Mhm.
Carpenter and Deborah Hill were actually involved with developing. There's a couple things, obviously, everything we know about that script is like early drafts. I think a lot of things would change. I don't think we would get that moment in the drive-in. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, where Michael suddenly gets very, very tall. But I think it was such a good script. It was very interesting. It was very cerebral, and I really liked what they did with Tommy and Lindsay in that. And like the original Halloween 4 script is probably, I would say, it's my favorite of all the rejected scripts that I've read.
Yeah, and Seth has the breakdowns of these scripts all up in our website, thehorrorsyndicate.com. By the way, something I did new today, as I added in the description of the video, 3 different links that you can read of articles. And I believe, let me look on the website real fast because I can't remember. I know one of them is the original review for Halloween 2 that I did, The Future of Halloween, which Seth wrote to clear up all that madness from about a week ago, and then his timelines ranking, which you can find all on the horrorsyndicate.com. Seth, I'll be right back. I gotta help Helena. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna leave my thing here. I'll be right back. We'll do slash scores when I
Okay.
get back. Talk about the ending and
Okay.
what you think of it and stuff.
The ending. Yeah, I like the ending. I like the sort of the cat and mouse of it. I like the whole idea of it coming down to Lorie and Loomis, and I liked Laurie shooting out Michael's eyes and then them distracting him with noise and kind of drawing him to one end of the room to the other, and Loomis coming to the point where he's making that sacrifice, killing himself and Michael. Again, this is like one of those things where it's like John Carpenter doing like one of the things he's rarely ever done, and that is a definitive ending by killing both Loomis and Michael in the explosion. There's no doubt about it. That was in Carpenter's mind the end of these characters. And again, like I mentioned in some of the previous shows, by the time when Halloween 2 came out, slashers and slasher sequels were not as common. They existed, but slasher sequels especially were in their infancy. Um, Carpenter didn't really have an interest in doing a slasher series. He wanted Halloween to be more of a thematic series of horror movies set on the holiday. Um, So I think the ending works, but at the same time, too, it's like, growing up with all the Halloween movies, I grew up with that bullshit explanation of Loomis and Michael survived the explosion. I've never, like, when I was growing up, I never really questioned it. I never really cared. Um, and to this day, I still don't. I can watch Halloween 4 and accept it. Like, I know it's bullshit, especially with Sam Loomis, who was right there. And, you could always argue, the supernatural side of Michael, and that's why he survived it. But Loomis, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm glad that Loomis came back. So I guess I'll be selfish about that. Yeah, I really liked the ending to this one. I think it was a solid way to end this 1978 story. What do you guys think? Do you like the ending? Do you think it was okay? Do you like it, love it, hate it? I don't know. I'm going to go to comments. I don't know which ones he's already been to. I'm just going to skip around here. I read the Etchison draft and really liked it. Yeah, me too. I had such a good time reading that script. I actually read that script multiple times. I did like Ray said, I did a breakdown for it for the website, thehorrorsyndicate.com. I broke it down in great detail, but I had to read it a couple times for then. But there's been times where I just kind of randomly just was like, you know what, I want to read that again, and I'll just read it. It's a pretty fast read. Well, for me anyway, it was a pretty fast read. I love that script. So yeah. Michael is swinging that knife around, goes on a little long with those Grand Theft Auto Vice City knife sound effects. Yeah, I kind of liked it though. Wish they had made a movie with Michael and Jason. Yeah, there's a lot of fans who want a Michael versus Jason a film. I don't know how well that would work. Now, I saw this fan film that came out like a couple years ago, and there's a lot of really decent things about it. I can't remember what it was called. It had some sort of title before the Michael vs. Jason thing. It looked well as far as being shot. And the concept was okay, but it got really redundant after a while. It's just like it was kind of after a little bit, and we're talking about like a half-hour fan film, and I was just getting tired of it. So I don't know how well that would work. I know a lot of fans want that, and I'm not saying you're wrong for wanting that. I'm just saying for my own personal.
That fan film should have been like
and it wasn't. Yeah, and it's not like it was an awful fan film either. I mean, there was a lot of cool things in it, but it just you have two silent killers, and I don't know. There's something about it just didn't, because they're also two different type of people too. I mean, Jason's more in your face, brutal, come at you, whereas Michael, traditionally speaking, is more of a methodical. He's more of a stalker. He's more, kind of lurks in the shadows type. So it's just like I don't know if those two characters can go well together. If you ask me, when I was in my like teenage years, or in my even to up to mid 20s, early 30s, I would have really wanted that film too. But now, being older, the more I'm really kind of against the whole versus gimmick.
Me too. I also think Jason would annihilate Michael Myers. Any kind of Jason, but maybe not part 2 Jason. But 3 and beyond, I think he would just destroy Michael Myers. There's more brutality with Jason than there is in Michael Myers. I don't know. Do you want to get on to our slash scores?
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'm going to have to leave again, so I want to wrap the show up. Unfortunately, I hate it because I'm having fun.
Okay.
I love discussing these. And next week we get to talk about Halloween. So John Carpenter's Halloween. Um, I like
That's
seeing
true.
Chambers come back too, and Halloween too. Marion, I like her. She was kind of foxy in Halloween too. Yeah, I don't. Back to the versus thing.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see another versus movie of any kind. And Michael and Halloween, that doesn't make any sense. Friday the 13th and Halloween don't mix, in my opinion. Freddy versus Jason, I just think that's a terrible movie. That's just me. Okay, our slash scores. Seth, how do we do this?
Well, what we do is have a we have a system, okay, where we have 10 categories from writing, directing, cast, cinematography, editing, production design, effects, kills, entertainment factor, and there's probably something that I'm missing. Oh, score, music and score. Um, and then we rate each of those categories from 1 to 10, which gives us out of 100 score. And yeah, so that's how we do it.
So yeah, with that, we come up with
We also don't leave blood on sandwiches.
no, no, never, uncalled for. Unless you want a bloody sandwich, that's really your call. John McClane versus a predator on a skyscraper is the only crossover I want. Unfortunately, that'll never happen. Actually, watching Freddy vs. Jason.
Welcome
I
to the
just
party,
don't
pal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really like that versus movie very much. The sound design in this one is a bit rough, in my opinion. So many things. Um, I think, yeah, one movie that I think the sound design is really bad in is Elm Street 2. Just want to throw that out there. So, as I said, with our 5-star rating system, you guys who did us on Facebook, which we're re-rating them now because when we did this the first time, we had like 38,000 followers. Now we're over 51,000. So, I feel like there's a lot of people who probably would enjoy doing this, and it's a nightmare disaster as of right now. The Evil Dead movies they've gotten bombed, so probably can't do it. Anyway, Seth, you gave this a 92%. 92%. What were you
Yes,
thinking?
it did. I like how you put my face on the lighter.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I could put your face over his, but
yeah, because I think, yeah, I know, right? Well, because so again, I don't have. I did all my scores for the entire series ahead of time, and I have so many fucking notebooks here, so I don't know which one it's written in or
same
where it's
here.
at. So I can't really go through my breakdown very well.
You're gonna have to fix that for
But
Phantasm then.
yeah, I think yeah. Um, I thought the writing was decent. It's not perfect. There's some mistakes. Directing, I thought was pretty solid. Cinematography, perfect 10. Dean Cundy is great. Score, perfect 10. Um, Cast and acting, I thought they were all really good. It is a shame that Jamie Lee Curtis kind of got sidelined a little bit and reduced to being a vegetable in a hospital bed. But I mean, everyone else, I thought was. I mean, the hospital staff, they're not, they're nothing spectacular. They're nothing stupendous, but but I think some of them are really likable. And let's see here. I think the editing was fine. I think the kills were really good. Like the original Halloween, it wasn't focused on the kills; it's more focused on building suspense and the atmosphere. And the deaths that happened in that were very much a distant second or third in comparison to everything else. And here they really embraced the slasher aspect of it, and yeah, I think they did well with it. And entertainment factor, it's very high for me because, again, I watch this one a lot. The first four movies I watch a lot in the series. Yeah, and Halloween 2, it's to repeat myself from when we first started the episode. I am a huge sucker for sequels that pick up immediately where the last film left off, and how, even though I know it wasn't intentional by design, it it really kind of feels in a way seamless as the second half of one big story with part one. So yeah, 92%. It is my favorite Halloween Michael Myers sequel.
Have you gotten to watch the
Back to you.
Sandman cut?
That's the one where it's like
It
it
seamlessly
combines both
combines
of
the
them
two
together,
movies.
right?
Yeah, I watched mine. I didn't know if you got it or not, but I got it from a source that I cannot name, but you know who it is, and it's good, man. He did a pretty good job. The only
Yep.
difference, the biggest issue is the music because obviously it
Well,
changes from movie to movie. But
yeah. Well, let me ask you this: How did he handle the credits,
what do you mean?
opening credits? Does it have?
It's not there.
Well, does it like after? Huh?
It's between the
They're
movies.
not
You
there.
mean? They're not there. Yeah,
Yeah,
he just goes from one movie to the
not there.
next. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the like the most awkward part though is when the credits start. Because when he says you don't know what death is, it goes right into the opening theme where it starts doing that, and it kind of like
Yeah.
yeah, that's the probably the only spot that it doesn't work, but otherwise it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, 92%. I
Yeah.
was very surprised at your score for this, just so you know, because like, come on, man, 92%. That's exactly what I gave it. So
Oh, no
there
shit.
you go. Here's your surprise. Uh, I love it. I love it. I forgot that I gave it this high of a score. Um, and I watched it again yesterday. Actually, it was yesterday because in preparation for the show that was supposed to be yesterday, I'm like, God, man, I fucking love this movie. It's not as good as the original, and according to the both of us, it's 3% worse. Because I believe we do have the same score for John Carpenter's Halloween. But yeah, the kills are amped up a little bit in this one compared to the last. I mean, you get to see a straight
Yeah.
up throat slash in this one, and of course this one I love this scene when we didn't talk about the lifting her up and her clogs fall to the ground. You got to love that shit, man. The needle to
Yeah.
the eye. There's some good kills in this one. The score, I think the score is great. The older I get, the more I really enjoy this score. Even though the cast they're all basically cannon fodder, like a Friday the
Yeah.
13th movie. I still like most of the people in it. Bud's fun, and you got some of the best breasts ever on screen. And then I do like Dick Warlock as the Shape,
Yeah.
and I do think Dick Warlock doesn't get maybe the respect he deserves in playing Michael Myers, and people complain about his walk or something like that, and I'm like, what's wrong with it? Like, it's not like he's Freddy in the shower in part two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I'm like one of those guys that never really loved Dick Warlock's performance.
Well, don't get me wrong, he played
Like I
a
don't
better
hate it,
android.
but he feels very robotic to me.
Well, he was an android, you know.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Davy.
True.
Davey, I hope you subscribed. Hit the subscribe. I wish they had more trilogies that took place seamlessly. That would be cool, actually, if it was a 3-part trilogy. But there's no way to do that with this movie based on that ending. I wish Kills would have been just one night. That would have been way better. In my opinion, I think Halloween Ends is just a big mistake. Again, it's a fine movie. He did a good job. It's not. It should have been made that way. There should have been only 2 movies. Speaking of editing, the TV cut rearranges several scenes. Really, I gotta rewatch the TV version. I bet you're right there with me, Seth.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I got to rewatch it because I remember watching it like back in the day. USA always played the Halloween movies, the first 3 or 4, and that's how I watched Halloween 3. And I would it was always the TV cut. I'm gonna rewatch it now. I watched it. I've already watched Halloween twice. Halloween 2 twice this month. I'm gonna watch it again. I don't even give a fuck. I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna love it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna watch Halloween 1 and 2 TV versions.
There you go. Well, it just occurred to me that I haven't seen the TV cuts of 1 or 2 since I was in my 20s, my early 20s.
And I'm
40 now.
You're 40 now. You better get on that shit, my friend. By the way,
20 years later, it's been H2O.
It is H2O for you. There's our score, obviously. And just look at this. I love the framing in this shot. It's amazing. This is one of the best shots.
That is excellent framing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And you got Mr. Elrod asleep, her watching him, trying to see if he wants mayonnaise on a sandwich. Are you asleep again? And then Michael watching both. And maybe there's in his mind right there, he's like, should I kill these 2 old fucks? Nah, they're old. They're going to die soon anyway. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way. So really, like, if you combine our scores with the score from the fans, this movie is a solid 91%. And damn, I like that. I just got to know. I'm going to give Nathan, our dear friend Nathan Thomas Milner, who will be back with us in November on the Discourse show on Sundays. I'm going to give him the slash score of like, fill this out. Fill this out for 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 4 at least. Actually, he should do it for all of them because I'm curious what he's going to give a movie like Ends. 100%.
Yeah,
100%. He loves that movie.
Oh.
No, I mean Halloween doesn't even get 100% from us, so it's pretty damn close. But yeah, dig this movie a lot, man. It's a must. Every time I watch John Carpenter's Halloween, I feel like, should I watch 2? It's like I feel like I need to watch 2 also because it's such a good extension.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, is that the house that chunky dude goes to? Is it the Elrod house? Is that?
Yeah,
not the same
Oscar. When he's after Allison leaves him, he sees Michael and he says, "Hi, Mr. Elrod."
Yeah, but these 2
it was one of the 2. It was one of the 2 callbacks to the Elrods because during that one take scene where Michael goes house to house, the first person he comes to is that lady who she has the curls in her hair.
Yeah,
just like Mrs. Elrod.
Yeah, but she wasn't making a ham sandwich. Just saying.
I think she was making a sandwich though.
True, and I forgot. Halloween 2 does not count to 2018. So these 2 they would be dead by this point, I'm sure, because they're probably in their 60s at minimum. By 2018, they'd be 100. I know the water in Haddon feels good, but aesthetically, Halloween 1 through 3 feel like one thing to me. One thing, okay. The direction, yeah, I agree with you. I do agree with you on that. They do feel like they exist in the same world, for sure. And that's part of the thing I like about Halloween 3, and we discussed that last week, is how John Carpenter that movie is, where Rick Rosenthal, and he even admits it, on the Scream Factory Blu-ray, there's a great documentary, it's like 30 minutes long, of the making of Halloween 2. And Rick Rosenthal says he tried to mimic things that John Carpenter did on the original movie. He did his best, and I think he did a fine job because they do work really well together. And by the way, I haven't gotten to talk to you face to face since this, but I loved your idea for your Halloween trilogy. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to read the other two. Because the first one, I'm like, fuck, this needs to happen. I mean, it's a long shot, but dude, we can make a fan film. I'm just saying, there's a way to do that. I don't know how we could do it. That'd be cool, because that's that idea that and the way you flush it out, it'd be badass.
Yeah, I got mostly through the second one, but then I drank a lot last Saturday as I was writing it, and then it turned into depression, and I haven't gone back to it since. But...
It turned into you being John Carpenter. I was writing Halloween 2. I got drunk. Halloween 3 is a Halloween film because you can drop Michael Myers. And the only problem is they show clips from the movie in that movie. And
I wish they didn't. I wish, again, I know I mentioned this last week, but I wish they had, instead of using a TV spot for Halloween, I wish they would have used sort of like a
news footage,
some sort of news footage, TV report, looking back on a couple of years ago and had him.
Halloween Massacre. I agree with you 100%. The only reason, go ahead. I'll tell you my reason why I like it, but go ahead.
Well, because then you could really draw this, if you're really looking for a motive, you could really draw this idea of where maybe the original clown mask that he wore as a child when he was 6 was a early prototype from Silver Shamrock
Novelties.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, and I agree with Travis. You could drop Michael Myers right into this world, and it totally worked. But the only thing I do like about Halloween 3 having that, and I talked about it before, is when Conal Cochran puts the mask on Dr. Chalice, and you can hear the theme where Laurie's walking down the street, and he says "Happy Halloween." I love that because the theme for Halloween is so iconic, and it makes that. Like that scene when Laurie's walking to the Wallace house, I think, right? It's kind of like an inquisitive theme, but the Conal Cochran made it creepy as fuck when he does it, and he goes, "And oh yeah, Happy Halloween." You're like, oh, oh, God, that guy's creepy. I love Conal Cochran. He's one of the best horror film villains, period, of all time.
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says. So. Yeah, it's a great moment. And I love that the Scream Factory Blu-ray, if you let the menu play, it shows that scene before it starts back over. So if you just let it play, that ends with that, and you're like, oh God,
yeah,
you get the feels all over again, Yeah, I wish they would have done things differently, but Seth and I weren't alive back then to lead John Carpenter's hand. Even though Seth may just lead it to the beer. No, I don't know. Yeah. It is what it is, and maybe one day we'll get a good Halloween trilogy that isn't dependent on Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode. That would be nice. But anyway, what's that? Was that? Were you flipping me off again, or was that a finger? Oh, I thought you were flipping me off again. I was like, what did I say this time?
No, I was really crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I mean that'd be great. Hopefully, I mean your idea is. I wish I could say something, but I know I can't because it's a good idea, folks. Seth's got the mind for writing some Halloween. Next week is the week we're doing John Carpenter's Immortal Classic.
Halloween.
Yes, unfortunately, this image does not have his name on it for some reason. I did not take it off there. I didn't take it off there. I did not take it off there.
You're fired, Ray. You're fired.
The Horror Syndicate's over. It's over. But yes, we're talking about John Carpenter's Halloween next week. I'll probably wear the same shirt I'm wearing today, and I won't wash it. It's like when athletes don't wash their socks or whatever. I don't wash my underwear. I just buy new underwear. Anyway, yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to discuss just me and you, John Carpenter's Halloween, one of the greatest horror films, period, of all time?
Oh, it's gonna be excellent, and I'm definitely watching that film right before we do.
Now, I'm gonna throw a challenge out for you, though. I challenge you and myself to watch both TV cuts before next episode, before next Wednesday. You have access to them, right?
I don't know if I do. Hold on.
You son of a bitch. You better. Yeah. We got to give him credit. It's his name's above the title. If he wanted his name above the title, we got to say that. What do you got there? Is that the set that you got from Keith?
Yeah. It does say on
Halloween
special features that it has TV version footage.
Well, okay. So Halloween 2, my Blu-ray has both two different discs. So yours might not have that because I got the big whatchamacallit.
No, I think yeah, just the one disc.
I also have. I haven't checked these. I never watched them. I only bought these because it's Nate's art. So if anybody Halloween fans out there, this is one of our co-hosts' art. He did this, Nathan Thomas Milliner. This is his work, and same thing with Halloween 3.
I fucking love that art. I love that art.
I do too, and I was going to use it for last week, but I didn't want to ask Nate if I had to get permission or what, so I just used something else. But oh well, shit, dude, it's in there. It's in this set. See?
I don't have that.
Buy it. So then, of course, the one of the best things about Scream Factory is they got the. I love Scream Factory. So I got
as much as I love the original poster art for. As much as I love the original poster art for part 2, I would keep the Milliner art in there.
That's what I do. Also, I mean, Nate's a friend. I mean, he's also obviously we're all good friends. We don't just do the show together. But
even if we weren't friends, even if I didn't know him at all.
Well, no, I would too, and because I love the way this turned out. But no, what I was going to say is I'm still going to have him sign this, even though we're friends. I don't care if we're friends; he's still signing this shit for me because I love it. But yeah, the Halloween 2. I did do a whole video on my Halloween. I might have to do that again because I've gotten 2 new Halloween movies since then. But this is the one that came in my Blu-ray set. The one that you wish you had. The one you want me to leave you in my will. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Butte. But yeah, it came with. First of all, they came in black cases, which I love. But yeah, it comes with both cuts of the movie. I think you can get this super cheap on Amazon, and I think you should. I think you should spoil yourself. And I think that John Carpenter's Halloween is the same situation here. Oh, and guess what? It says John Carpenter's. How about that?
As it should.
Okay, so this one's different. The second disc. Oh, so the second disc is audio commentary and a featurette Halloween cut above the rest. So this actually doesn't have the TV cut. That must be on a different disc. Because in Halloween 2, this piece of shit, there is a bonus disc. In the bonus disc, on the bonus show. Wait a second. I'm not sure. I think it's on that disc, but I don't know, man. I got this extra book. I don't know. I know I have a copy of the theatrical cut somewhere for John Carpenter's movie, but I'm gonna figure out a way to watch both of them. I'll probably, and I've got that tradition that me and the kids do every Halloween, which we watch, John Carpenter's Halloween after we trick or treat, even though we have a show. So we are doing our rankings, by the way, on Halloween of all of these movies. We'll have our slash score rankings. We'll have our personal feeling, like I like this one better than the other rankings as well, which mine have bounced around over the past couple of weeks. I'm not gonna lie. After talking about these and realizing I don't like Halloween Ends, and it's okay for me to not like it, because I feel pressured to like it. Honestly, it's objectively a well-made movie. That's about the nice thing I could say. I have the Scream Factory edition. That's the ones I just showed. Yeah. I have all 4 cuts of Rob Zombie's movies in this set. Each cut from each movie. There's also Halloween Homecoming work print. Is there really? Isn't that just the opening credits, though, that's different? Because I know they were showing home video of Michael when he was a kid being all detached from everyone else or something like that. Because I think I saw that
Well,
somewhere.
I know that. Yeah. Before Resurrection came out, I did read one of the earlier drafts of the Homecoming script, which I think they still should have called it Halloween Homecoming.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit better. It was more, at least in the, I don't know if they shot any of it, but there was a cop character in one of the original drafts who was kind of weaved in with everything. It was a better script.
Let's face it, Resurrection is a bullshit title. It's a generic title that gets used way too much.
Yeah, well, no one gets resurrected in it.
No.
Not even the Elrods sandwich.
And I'm disappointed because they could have gone that route. This is dumb. I got sent this, Seth. One franchise has to go. Come on. Which one would you choose? It's Scream, Halloween.
I would choose.
It might be harder for you, but I would have to get rid of Saw. The other
I would say fuck you to. I would say fuck you to the person who made that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you like Saw more than I do.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, that's it for us tonight. I think it was a fun show. Had a good time. Hope you all had a good time, and hope you come back for the next one. That's the movie with Busta Rhymes, Tyra Banks. Yes, yes.
Yep.
I wonder why you chose those 3 people. I agree with Seth because it's a tough question. It is a tough question, but I'm emotionally attached to those other 5, not Saw. I like the Saw movies quite a bit, and Saw 10 is great. But I'm just not emotionally attached to the other ones like I am the like Evil Dead. I can't get rid of Evil Dead. I love it.
Well,
Dawn, thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Me personally,
thank you, Kathy.
Personally, I hate that. I hate those whole one has to go or you can only choose. Blah blah blah. It's like you can like multiple fucking things. It's not like a one or the other. And I'm not choosing. It's like choosing your favorite child.
That's easy. I shouldn't have said that.
Clearly the oldest. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, Busta Rhymes, it's kung fu, right? Yeah. Those are bullshit. There was one that had like the whole entire Halloween franchise and then all these other franchises. Like, fuck you. It's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
Just come on.
that.
Yeah, get out of here with that noise. Anyway, yeah, that's the show for tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you get some friends to come over and subscribe. By the way, if anybody saw me do that little quick live thing I did yesterday, I used to do those back when the Horror Syndicate began, before I could do live streaming like this. Just going through my collection and just like quick 15-minute things. If you want me to do that, let me know, because I forgot that I actually enjoy doing that once in a while. The reason why I don't do it as much because it doesn't go up to our YouTube channel, but technically I could do that from my phone through StreamYard and it will go to YouTube as well. So I could do that.
Yeah.
The New Kids on the Block. So can't stomach a movie where Donnie Wahlberg dies. Oh, you like the New Kids on the Block. So you don't like The Sixth Sense either, I guess. Have a great night. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week from John. What? You're gonna say something?
Nothing.
Oh, well, you're gonna say Evil Dies Tonight. It's been a while since you said that.
I forgot. So,
all right.
Yes, Evil Dies Tonight.
Maybe tomorrow.
Or 4 years from now.
Why 4 years from now?
Because Halloween Ends was like 4 years later.
Oh shit, dude! The Scream Factory for Halloween 2 is on Amazon, the 4K edition, for $20. That's the cheapest ever. $20.99. Awesome. That's the cheapest I've ever seen it. I wish I had a job.
I gotta start Christmas shopping for the kids. So
yeah, there you go. Well, shit. How much is the first one? $22.99 for John Carpenter's Halloween, and Halloween 3 is fuck you. That's how much Halloween 3 is. I was trying to check to see how much the Nate's Blu-ray is, but they only have the hold on, $16. You can get it for $16. So anyway,
man, put that shit in my hand.
Okay. That's it. We're going to go now. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next week for John Carpenter's Halloween, the immortal classic, one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Until then, make sure you watch some good horror movies. For God's sakes, watch some Hammer films if you can, or Universal. Nobody ever does that anymore.